Welcome to the Day One Podcast. I'm Adam Daly.
And I'm Brett Nord.
How's everybody doing today?
Yeah.
We're very excited to be back with another episode, and today we have two special guests with us on the show. First of all, I'd like to introduce, on my left, Murphy Randle.
Happy to be special. Happy to be here.
Thank you. And on my right, actually, this person has already been on the show before, and he might not even know it because he didn't even need a microphone. We just placed him in another room, and we figured we'd pick him up with the microphones here. This is Josh Robertson, a.k.a. Haas.
Hello.
How you doing, man?
Great, thanks.
Actually,
I didn't even know his name. I thought it was Haas. I didn't know he had a full birth given name, but
yes,
good
he
to know
does.
it.
Yes, he does. But did you know you were on the show before?
Brett informed me, yes.
We'd like to play you a clip. Is that okay?
Well, yeah, let's hear it.
This is... I have to go back out and look at this real quick. But these are the episodes that Haas was on before this episode. Are you ready?
Like something will happen. Yeah.
So those were
Yeah, well done.
those were brief clips from other episodes where, from discussions that Brett was having with some of our users.
In our soundproof room. And
Hardly.
Haas was two buildings away with no microphone.
Yeah.
And we still picked him up.
And wasn't that the abbreviated version of the clips that
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Anyway,
Sure.
no, we're excited to have Haas. Haas has an energy that I think this office enjoys a lot. We love Haas's energy.
In doses. I mean, yes, we do.
I'll try not to laugh.
He's
too
holding
loud.
back now.
Oh
you
yeah, I
can
don't
tell.
want to laugh too loud because the mics.
It's all very sensitive, you know. It's interesting once you get headphones on and you put yourself in front of a mic. You're like, oh wow, this is really picking up my voice. But unfortunately, we don't have a Barry White filter.
I'm really disappointed about
I'm sorry.
So why are these two on our show today?
Yeah, exactly. We need to get into that.
Let's do it.
So Murphy and Haas are on our web/server team.
that. Oh, not just on.
We
are.
They are the
We
team. That's
are.
right.
We are the team.
Sometimes I speak in generics like that. Or like, oh yes, I'll send those on to the team, right?
Yeah.
You know. But we have a small group here. And certainly, our entire web/server team is here in the room with us.
Yeah.
So now we
So
can put a voice to the name.
Yeah. Well, and
Not a face. Can't see, just a voice.
well, we've got video going here that we hope to be posting on Facebook a little bit later, right?
Yes.
That's the plan.
That's
So
right.
See the back of my head right here.
you're so handsome.
I can mostly just hide behind Brett too. And I can
Wouldn't
be
recommend that.
Brett. I can be yes.
I would not recommend that.
Yes.
Get better.
Yes.
I should start saying no.
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 No. Anyway, we're excited to talk to them about all things server, all things web, and talk about their background, get to know them a little bit, and introduce them to you, our community. So first of all, before we get into that, I did want to talk about the update most recently that came out was version 2.7.2 for iOS. This was to fix a few things and also gave us the option to disable on this day per journal.
Awesome feature.
Now, it seems like such an insignificant thing, but I think a lot of people really appreciate it. I know you did,
It's a big
Murphy.
deal. Yeah. And
Why did you like it?
I can tell you more about it because later we're going to talk about tips.
Oh, yes.
Like how
Yeah.
I journal kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I have a large number of journals and I have a large number of entries in those journals that aren't my main journaling journal. Like we'll talk about why, but point is I had completely disabled on this day because it was completely useless with the volume of information I was
Right.
getting. Now I only have it enabled for like the pictures where my kids, like the journals where I have kid pictures and stuff like that, and that's nice.
Yes.
really
So check out the link below to find out how to enable that. You can choose which journals will show up on this day and which ones will not. So we're really excited about that. Now, I know 2.7.3 for iOS is also being worked on. There's a few bugs that have come out that we're working on. For example, one of them is PDF exports. You can export to a PDF, but right now when you tap on the share icon to send it somewhere, the app is crashing. We're working on that one, and also an issue with some map lag. And so those fixes are coming in 2.7.3. But this is all in preparation for our big 3.0 release, which our team is still pushing forward with. And I've seen some screenshots and some design stuff for the dark mode, and it looks really slick, you guys. I'm very excited about dark mode. That's a big feature for a lot of people. People who journal at night or early in the morning and don't want that eye strain. So
I've been using the beta version of dark mode for a month or two, and it's fantastic.
it looks great too. Just real slick. Anyway, so those are the things that are coming up. Just wanted to give you a heads up on that. So, yeah, I think think that's about it for our updates.
Let's talk about some discussions.
Yes. Now, how many have you done recently? Because I know you had a schedule full of interviews recently, right?
2,700. No, a lot though. Yeah, it's almost 2 or 3 a day. So
Nice.
We've got to be in the 30, 40-ish of ones I've edited and gotten ready to go. So great stuff.
Yeah.
Today I want to share a conversation I had with Tom in Manhattan. In fact, I'll let him introduce himself.
Hey, this is Tom from Manhattan.
See, like I told you, I wasn't lying. But Tom is great, and you'll get to hear a lot from him. But I loved his perspective. He's more of a power user. Put some hooks in there with if to bring in some of his content from other places. But I just love his perspective. So let's hear from Tom.
So this is him talking about his first entry with Day One.
I was in Switzerland. I was studying abroad there. Yeah, but it's super cool because it's like when you asked me that question, I didn't even remember, but like I can go back and look.
That fast.
It's my alibi. Like if someone's like, "What were you doing like 2 weeks ago on like Tuesday at 7 p.m.?" I can go back and.
Now we're not here to provide legal advice, to anybody, just to make that clear.
It's a great tip, though.
Yeah.
I know where I was.
So this was an interesting clip. I listened to this beforehand. He talks about Day One as a chapter of his life. So let me play this one here for you.
One thing I've actually thought a lot about lately is, especially because I'm getting to fairly high numbers in my entry count, that like since I just started this 4 years ago, that's not that much time. And even though it's been like a lot of effort to first make the habit and then keep continuing and doing it, I think about like 20 years from now, 40 years from now, 50 years from now, like just looking back on all that information that I have in there and stuff like people that have gone through my life and maybe no longer there, like events and places and stuff that happened, like that's going to be really, really amazing to go back and reflect and look at that.
I feel like that's true for me because like I'm a completely different person than I was in high school or college, and now we change so often, and keeping track of those changes I think is really helpful. Okay, favorite feature in Day One here. Tom explains.
Probably the best feature I like, which is like probably the core of the product, is just the editor. Because like I said earlier, whenever I would go traveling before when I was young, my mom would give me a journal. Like it was just such a hard experience to get started, and like this makes it super easy for me to do.
Yes.
It's like a tool that I'm not afraid of using, and like I don't really feel that constrained by it because I can add the photos, I can add text. Beyond that, and then the tags and stuff like that. Beyond that, there's not that much more that I really need.
It's nice and simple, and I'm really excited about the new editor.
Agreed.
Gets out of your way even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The new editor is really sleek. So
I find it interesting, too, how many people I've talked to that struggled with the physical journal, like the entry of a start of 100 pages of blanks, and like, oh, I got to start a new journal. And yet for electronic, it doesn't seem to be that way. They just like, oh, yeah, just jump in.
Yeah, and it's with you wherever you are.
Mm-hmm.
You're hiking in the mountains. I know Brett does a lot of hiking. Mm-hmm. You could pull out your phone anytime and do a journal entry of something you're thinking about. Mm-hmm. This is Tom talking about if he has always journaled with a special guest, Haas, in the background.
So tell me just about the idea of journaling first. Was that something that you did before Day One? Was that something that was part of your life?
Not really. Like whenever I would go on like vacations or stuff, my mom would always buy us like notebooks to write in. And I was like always afraid of using it. Like it's so nice. Like I don't want to like write in here. Like I'm gonna write the letter. It's gonna look terrible, or I'm gonna misspell something.
Sure.
Yeah. I was really afraid of doing that. And then like once I got Day One, I was definitely more open to it. I first started doing like just play by play. Like this is what I did during the day. And that definitely helped with my memory. So like I kept doing it. Like I would be able to easily remember stuff that happened a while ago.
What's the earliest journal you've ever kept? How long ago did you first start journaling?
I started journaling when I was like 5 years old.
Wow.
I hasn't been consistent. But
Right.
That was when my parents taught me to do it. But what I want to comment on that I love is that he's talking about it being an extension of his brain.
Yeah.
And that's very much how I feel. Like there's some journals that I keep that are for posterity, for the sense of like, oh yes, when I have grandkids, they'll probably want to read. Hopefully, hopefully they'll want to read a story about me.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is like my brain isn't big enough to keep I haven't practiced my memory to keep things around, so I just put it in my journal and then it's there. That's amazing to me.
What's that old proverb that the faintest ink is stronger than the?
In fact, Karen shared that on our first podcast.
We should have looked it up. Yeah.
This is what I get for not having a producer. It just came to my brain though. Anyway,
Karen's saying it right now as she's listening. She's like, "Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I said that." And she's, "Dang it."
I'll give her credit. Yeah. Thanks, Karen. Random entries tag, which I thought was an interesting idea.
And then I have another journal as well, which I started somewhat recently, which is I call random memories. And these are things that, like, as I'm going through like my life, like I'll maybe think about this one thing. I don't exactly remember when it happened because it was maybe like 10 years ago or some time in the past. And I just want to put it down, like not worry about like necessarily the time that it happened or like too much information around it. I just want to like get it out of my head and put it down so that way like I don't forget it.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
And going back to those memories, like doesn't that physiologically help you be able to recall other memories more easily?
Well, that's a good question because I also have heard that the more you access a memory, the more corrupted it gets.
Oh, really?
Brain. So don't think about things after you write them down.
Done.
Okay?
Just purge it.
Yeah.
Get it out of there. That's interesting. I hadn't heard that. I thought it was the opposite.
I guess.
But
it
I'm not a
depends
brain. I'm not a psychologist.
neuropsychology.
Yeah. Here's another one that features Haas. Talks about subscribing to premium.
I was a little hesitant to buy it at first because it was paid at that time.
Yes.
And no one paid for apps, whatever.
Sure.
So I actually didn't buy it. I waited until it was the free app of the week.
Sure.
And I got it. And then ever since then, it's been totally worth it. I have like maybe 1.5K entries in there. Or something.
Wow.
Yeah, I use it almost every day.
Nice.
And since then, I've also subscribed and bought the Mac app because I feel bad that I didn't buy it originally because you guys have provided so much value.
Oh, thank you.
Last like 4 or 5 years for me. So
That's awesome.
You get what you pay for.
And guilt's a good motivator. That's what I was going to say. Why not?
And sometimes you get what you don't pay for too.
Amen.
Occasionally.
Amen.
I should say, just since we could hear Haas in the background, to tell Tom, Haas is not laughing at him.
Oh no.
Don't take this personal, Tom.
It's probably Smash going on. That's what he's just
Or
beating
laughing.
everybody in Smash.
Something was going on. I
Right.
was loud that day.
That day.
And then lastly, he says here he gives a suggestion to give day one a try.
Mm-hmm.
what I try to tell people how it relates to like day one whenever I try to sell it to them is like, since it's provided a lot of value for me, I would just say like try it for a couple months. You can either use free or just pay for like a couple months. It's not that much. And even if you're paying that much, like for 3 months, it could change your life. And that's totally worth like the $10 or whatever else you're paying.
Amen.
I like that.
Well, Paul has always said that he feels day one is a lifetime app, and I completely agree. Like you want to keep your memories around for as long as you are, and then be able to provide them to your posterity if that's something you want to do. That's great. But day one is a lifetime app. You're getting what you pay for. That's my plug.
Right. He said pay for a few months. I think we don't have that option at the moment.
You can get to it through the subscription manager.
Oh, you can.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can still get to the monthly option. Right now, it's we more people use the year one, and it is a discount if you use year instead of monthly. But there is that option there. So, that's what we got for Tom. Thank you so much for being on the discussion, Tom.
Thank you,
and
Tom.
Thanks,
Tom.
we appreciate your input. Now let's get down to the meat and potatoes. I always say that for the interviews.
Am I the meat or am I the potatoes?
I'm the potato.
Take your pick.
Which one don't you eat?
At this point, I eat both of them.
Okay, great.
So,
Then we're okay.
It's more like the ham.
Ham and eggs.
Ham, yeah.
yeah.
Ham and eggs.
That's
Ham and
fine.
bake.
Yeah. Haas's ham.
like the steak and chicken is
Yes.
more like it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, steak and
The
chicken.
beef.
I like that.
You're the
steak.
chicken, right?
Okay, we're losing people. Listeners are turning it off. Like,
What is
outta here.
going on?
okay, we're back to David. Here we go.
Yes. So I wanted to I wanted you guys to introduce yourselves. Let's talk about where you came from, why you're here, and where you're going. So let's start with Murphy. Murphy, what's kind of your education background as far as development and stuff like that, coding?
Oh, good question. I went to BYU in Utah, and I did not major in computer science. I majored in animation.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was my passion and pursuit from when I was like 9 years old. My mom bought me some animation software, and I
Just to interject, you've been journaling for 4 years at that point, right?
Yeah.
So like,
on and off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Really chicken scratches in my journal, but yes. Yeah, so from an early age, I was very familiar with animation software and did freelance work that way, and then got into the animation program at BYU and worked on a bunch of the capstone projects there.
Nice.
Went to Pixar and worked on Cars 2. So.
This is where I talk to Murphy all the time about Pixar because I'm like, ooh, tell me everything. I want to know.
Yeah, sure.
Pixar was a great company to work for. I loved it there. And I was doing kind of a mix of artistry and programming there.
Cool.
Came back and really started to dig in on the computer science stuff and ended up going into software engineering instead. Went to work for a company that was doing distributed data storage, a startup that eventually was acquired. So, so at that point, I kind of said, well, I can do programming. I can do web stuff, like websites. And then went to that company and ended up moving from websites into web apps, and then from web apps into I do all the web stuff.
Front end, back end.
Now, yeah.
All the stuff.
I mean, there's too much stuff to say I do all the stuff. I can do a lot of it poorly and some of it
That's not
relatively well.
Well,
He's being humble.
But Haas is going to tell us differently, right? You're going to say that Murphy's great.
Yeah, he's great.
He's great.
You know that.
What about you? Tell us about your background.
Well, my background's slightly different.
Yeah.
I didn't go to college, but I did go through, I interned and I have a family of programmers. I have brothers that are also into the field as well. And so I just was interested in a young age. And
we should say Haas is 15.
no, not 15.
Older than 15.
Yeah.
You are
a prodigy.
Not to be ageist here, but you are the youngest member of the team, isn't he?
Yeah. And
But that's cool though.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I wish I had your skills when I was your age.
Well,
I wish I had your skills, period.
Yeah. That period. Yeah, there you go.
my skills in being loud.
No.
So yeah, basically I just interned at a different place and then started working with my brothers, and then from experience, and then Murphy, I met Murphy through a conference that I was speaking at, and afterwards he reached out to me and kind of just worked out, and now I've been here at Day One for over a year.
Nice. Now, is coding and developing something that you feel kind of comes naturally to you? You kind of look at it and understand it? Because I would personally feel like I would need more of a formal education to get into it. Mm-hmm. But since you haven't had that, I don't know.
I wouldn't say it comes natural to me. I just say that I've had fantastic mentors and people to teach me, and so I can understand different stuff. And Murphy's been one of those.
Yeah, I'll interject, because I've done a lot of teaching as well of Haas. I think that you could say that you have a propensity for learning this topic.
Nice.
So maybe you didn't come come out of the womb with the knowledge in place, but you're well suited to learn this kind of stuff as well. Yeah. So that's cool.
Cool.
Thanks.
We got a great team.
Yeah, that's great. So we heard about Haas, how you came to Day One. Did Murphy talk about that coming to Day One? I can't remember if he.
No.
How about
that's actually a funny story. I forgot to mention.
We heard education. So how'd you get here?
Yeah, I started using Day One in college, and I just love tools. I'm a tools guy. I love tools, and so I had used apps previously to Day One. Like there was one called Journaler, I think. Mm-hmm. Journaler. Yeah, that was it was an open source, but it died. It went away. I've lost a bunch of journal entries because I tried a bunch of different tools and didn't save all of them.
Right.
But I loved Day One because it was so beautiful, and I bought the classic version. And I remember looking on the App Store and realizing that Day One was in Utah, and turning around and telling my wife, who was behind me, also in the animation program, they're here, they're in Utah. This is amazing. So I contacted and said, hey, can I have an internship? And they said, oh, well, yeah, let's meet up for lunch. And this was Paul, the CEO, who you already heard from, and I think it may be Ben Dolman, who's not here anymore. I think it was the two of them. I met up with them for lunch, and it was kind of funny because I was like, I wanted an internship, but I was like this guy with a background in animation who knew Python. Right. The tools that I had in my tool belt were not what they needed, and they also didn't need interns at the time. But they were very nice. They bought me lunch and said, yeah, let's look forward to the future maybe. And then I went to work for other companies. So I actually, at that point, I went to work for the first company I mentioned, the distributed one. Then I helped start an education tech company. I was one of the first 4 engineers there. And then I was ready for another change. And at that point, I knew that Day One was looking for someone like me, and was very excited to get back into kind of consumer facing startup work. And so we had lunch. It's always over lunch, isn't it?
Yes.
We had lunch, and I said, "Man, please, man, I want to come work for you." And I had forked over, money for Day One too when it came out, and I just loved it. So
that was
very
impressive.
excited.
Lunch, forked over, and dished all in the same sentence.
Well done.
Man, it's just my dad's skills are.
I'm getting hungry. Actually,
Yeah,
while
me
talking
too.
about all this food.
No, that's a cool story. And, it's been great ever since. You've been able to start up with the web tools that we're working on, and a lot of integration with some of the gift stuff that we've worked on and different things with subscriptions. So it's been a great addition to the team. Let's talk about things that you've worked on here. Let's start with you, Haas. What are some things that you've worked on at Day One?
Let's see, things I've worked on. So the first thing I worked on was browser extension.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the browser extension was one of them. After that, I mainly focused on the web app.
Right.
So the first version of the web app, well, I don't know if it was the first version, but the version that was released to people, right?
Yeah, right. The public beta.
The public
right?
beta, yeah, which is still currently out there. And did a lot of work on that, on like the settings page, and then from there, I guess like server stuff, right? What would you say, Murphy?
Funny thing is, we've done a lot of work that nobody has seen.
It's a lot of its back end though.
Yes.
Well, yeah, there's that, but also we've done a whole lot of work that hasn't seen the light of day yet.
Right.
That hasn't been the right time to release, or hasn't gotten fully developed, or we've changed priorities.
Yeah.
So there's hopefully some of that will come to fruition soon, and people will start to see it. But most of what Haas and I have done has either been in beta or not released yet, kind of thing.
Now, the browser extensions were a big hit, especially people using like a Windows PC or something like that, so they can still create entries from their desktop computer or laptop or whatever using a browser extension in Chrome
and
Safari. And all you install it there, click on it, and then you can create entries that go into your journal. It's a pretty cool tool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool tool.
Neat for bookmarking for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, we can reveal a little bit of what you've been working. We've been working on a brand new version of the web app beta.
You've heard it here first, folks.
It's the web app private alpha, which is not even working yet.
All
But
right.
Let's hear about it.
here's the neat thing: it works with end-to-end encryption.
Nice.
So Haas and I spent a lot of time getting that going. So the current public beta for the web app just works with unencrypted journals, but we really care about
standard encrypted journals.
Yeah, right. Plain text meaning that we keep them, we encrypt them on the server side, but it's not like, but we have the tools to unencrypt them and things like that. So we are very interested in having everyone be end-to-end encrypted.
Yes,
and we'd love to get to that point. So in the interest of doing that, the new work we've done on the web app that Haas and I have been working on, I should be letting you say. You want to say this? You say this.
No,
tell us.
Worries. I mean, the new web app has the ability to decrypt and encrypt, right? So like you just be able to put in your key and then have all your journals that are end-to-end encrypted and right there on the web. Right, currently we don't have that allowed, right?
Yeah.
And that may not sound super impressive, but just to give you a little bit of perspective, listeners who aren't technical, this is new stuff. Like there aren't a whole lot of web apps that are doing this kind of thing in the browser. So we're using new browser APIs, and we're using the crypto standards that they've implemented, and so we're trying to offer a level of security and comfort that maybe a lot of apps haven't focused on the web.
Now, I think a big question, though, is what about more capabilities on the web app? When can I edit or whatever?
You want to edit on the web?
When can I create an entry in my web app?
What do you want from me?
And we want it tomorrow.
Yes.
So that is also a new feature. The ability to actually use your journal is a new feature in the. I forgot that the current beta is only read.
It's read only. Yep.
But that is also one of the things in the new alpha.
Cool.
So we have some listeners named Reed that are going, "Oh, that's just for me."
It's just for
read only.
READ.
All right.
Good. Let's talk about Day One, your personal use of it. So, what are your favorite features? How to use Day One? It's different. Yeah.
Well, I need to talk to Haas first because I always capitalize.
Okay. Day One, I've been using it. Actually, I was using Classic before I came here too. I've been using it. Classic. I've been using it a lot for notes and also just like my own life journal, right? But Murphy really got me into just keeping, like, almost having an extension as my brain. That's what he was saying, as just writing notes for work, random notes, actually, that random memories that Tom mentioned. Yeah. I do that as well with not just notes, but random memories as well.
Can you give us an example? I don't want to pry or make you spill your private secrets, but
one that's really
embarrassing. Just so we understand, like, what kind of things might go in there.
For example, say I pull up Facebook and I don't like Facebook that much, but I pull it up.
Okay. We're not affiliated with them.
Yeah. I pull it up, and then there's like this. It like shows you on this day, like 7 years ago or something, and it's like this really old photo. And so I was like, oh, that's just like a random memory, and so I'll just put it in my journal.
Nice.
And then, but
that's cool.
Can you share about your mission, the books you made?
Oh yeah,
that's cool.
That's true. I forgot about that. So I served a LDS like mission 2 years for my church, and I put all my emails from that into my journals.
Oh, cool.
And like put it by, I actually went back and changed the location and everything. So it's all in order and time as well. And then I printed that out. And so now I have a book of 2-year memories. And
that's nice. You were in South America, so you have this like whole book of detailing your 2-year
exactly
journey.
And where I was at, which is super neat.
Yeah.
Didn't you order a copy for your mom too?
Yeah, I gave my mom one for Christmas.
Son of the Year award.
Wonderful.
It's way cool.
That's awesome. Thank you very much for sharing. All right, Murph.
Yeah. Okay. So I actually also run a podcast. I used to run 2 podcasts.
Yes.
It got busy, but I run a podcast, and Day One sponsors it, meaning that like they let me do it. In my time, we let me do it.
Right.
And so in the sponsorship, I started saying Day One is a journaling and life archiving app, and that's how I would represent it, because I used it as a journaling app until I got here. And let me say what I mean by that, because my journal up until that point in my life was like maybe once every month or once every few months, I'd get in there and write my deep thoughts or write some special experience that I knew I would care about in the future or something like that. And usually it was like some problem I was facing. So my journal, it was hard for me when Day 1, 2 came out to drop $30 on it or whatever, because I was like, oh, I use it once in a while, but it's so beautiful, I really want to buy it. So I did, but I was just using it as a journal, and then like the multiple journals thing came in, and I was like, well, okay, yeah, I guess that's nice. I did like the multiple photos, but when I got here, I started to realize that, like, I started to think about scientists. You know, when you'll realize that scientists have these books of lab notes. And I was like, I don't know if real scientists do, but at least in the movies, they're always like,
Bill Nye does.
Oh, look, I'm just scratching out.
You gotta have your Grail diary.
Your Grail diary?
Yeah. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Right. You got to have your Grail diary.
Exactly right.
All your notes for, all your discoveries and stuff.
So I saw that as an inspiration, and I realized, what if I started to write down the things I was thinking and learning as I was working every day, so I didn't just lose, because it takes effort to find facts, right? It takes effort to do research, and I'm constantly doing research as to what is the next best thing to do. And then a lot of times that knowledge is ephemeral and floats away. So I started to use Day One in an unstructured way, where I didn't have to worry about a public audience, meaning my future readers of my journal, including myself, coming back and being like, oh, this is beautiful prose and a well-represented life. Instead, it's like, I found this snippet about a thing that I know I'll need to remember, so I just drop it in an entry. And so I have quite a few journals. Let me just tell you really quickly how many entries I have, if you don't mind.
No, I'm curious.
I'd love to hear it.
I have a total of 2,511
Wow.
entries.
Now that's spread across all your journals.
That's spread across all my journals. So like my health journal has 460 entries. My notes journal has 565. But my actual journal where my life thoughts go is more like at 500, and I have to clean that up. And let me tell you why I have to clean that up. I was like, we shipped book printing, and I was going to print a book, and I was like, hey, to my wife, Laura. I said, hey, Laura, I'm going to print a book. And she said, no, you aren't. And I was like, what? She said, have you edited those journal entries? And I was like, no. And she said, you're not printing a book until you edit those journal entries.
Why?
Because she's like, your journal entries are so boring.
Oh.
She's like, your kids are not going to care about, just that I didn't, I would use it as kind of like a no filter input kind of thing. So since then, I've split up my journals.
Okay.
I split them up to the daily journal, where I just put stuff that happened and I don't care. Like my kids aren't going to care that I bought a mattress today, whatever. I may want to remember in a year that, oh yeah, I bought my mattress a year ago. Right.
Yeah, it's your alibi.
That's my alibi. That's right. It's the daily life.
The cops are like, nobody would make up that they bought a mattress that day.
It must be true.
Yeah.
It must be true.
But then the other journals for things like my mom sends me an email. Like my grandmother died a number of months ago, and my mom sent me an email like with stories about her. And so I took that and I put it in that journal.
Okay.
And that's the kind of journal where I'm preserving family history. I'm also writing things down about like the challenges I'm running into as a dad, so that if my sons, I have no sons yet, but when my daughters grow up, they can see, wow, maybe this is my dad really struggled with teaching me things in this way, and maybe I can learn from that as I teach my kids. So those are I've used multiple journals to separate and filter out the things that I really want to pass down versus the things that are just useful to me right now.
Right, and the reason I asked is because I think there's value in kind of an unfiltered history as far as just honesty in your journals, because sometimes I've felt like the desire to be like, oh, well, I don't really want my kids to know that I did this, or what. Not that I'm like doing anything completely malicious, but do I really want to pass on that information? But
not the tax evasion is a big deal, but
but I think there's benefit in having a more unfiltered, more just real version of yourself as opposed to the Instagram you. You know what I mean? Because we already do that through social media. We tend to put our best face forward. The highlight reel on those things. I don't want my journal to be that. So that's why I clarified, and I think what you're doing is fantastic. So
that's great.
Thank you.
Do you, I'm curious, do you reflect back? Do you go back and look at past entries? I know not just on this day, but you.
Occasionally, yes. It is nice. I like to use the photos view and go back. Actually, I like to put GIFs in my journal too.
Yeah.
Because I use Google Photos, and we'll go take family photos, and it'll generate GIFs of like there were 2 or 3 photos in one pose where people are kind of like jimmying around, and it'll make a GIF. I'll drop that in my journal. When I scroll through my timeline, I get this Harry Potter effect, which is fun. Yeah, I like that.
I wonder if everybody knew that Day One supported GIFs.
I'll say GIF/GIF so that nobody gets angry.
No. You were right the first time. I'm in the GIF camp here. Okay.
I'm very political, and it doesn't matter to me in this circumstance.
So you're talking about photos or photo?
Yeah.
Photos.
Photos.
2 ways to say.
Now, I wanted to ask one question here that I think is probably on people's minds is Day One sync. Just question mark, right?
Oh no.
Being the web server
Hold on,
team.
let's go get the web server team to talk about that.
Exactly. There have been some ups and been some downs. Generally, our uptime is really high, and that's awesome. But I think we would like to discuss, as much as we're able to, what's the future? What are we doing?
I also want to highlight when you said as much as we're able to.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why we won't just like put everything out on the
Get
table.
everything out, yeah.
One reason is that we're learning a lot, and there's, we don't know at this point necessarily all of the future path, right?
Right.
Because we are trying to do the best thing for the company and for the users, and that as we are working on it, we make changes. So at this point, I'm not going to say like,
here's the plan.
We're doing everything this way, because it may change if we come up across something better tomorrow.
Right.
But do you want to kind of know what we're in the middle of right now?
Yeah. With that being said, what can we know? And because I think what we want to express as far as Day One goes is we want to do it right by the company, and for the user.
Yes.
Which is what you just said. We want to be a trusted company. We want you to trust us, and we're going to do everything we can to keep that trust. And so I think that's kind of like our baseline. That's what we have in mind going forward, right?
And I want people to remember, because we've received a lot of criticism, rightfully received a lot of criticism over the difficulties we've had with uptime in the last 6 months. And I just want everyone to remember that we're a very small company.
Yep.
We're really trying to bring fantastic new experiences to people, as well as maintain the current experiences. And I'm just going to say, for those who aren't app developers, remember that it costs a whole lot of money to develop apps. It's not. Since there are so many apps, it may seem like it's a simple thing to just go make an app. It's not. I mean, it's very arduous process. It's fun, but it costs a lot of money and it's a lot of work.
Yep.
So that said, and also I want to remember that we are also users of Day One.
Yeah.
We're very dedicated users. So this isn't us just trying to make a buck off of people.
Right.
And so we care. We do care a lot. And so we have a whole lot of our time in the past 6 months has gone to trying to make sure that sync is up and available, way more than should be going to that.
Yeah.
And that's just, I won't go into detail as to the reasons for that. There are reasons with our current setup, it's very difficult to maintain. And so we have talked through all different kinds of options. And we are in the process currently and have been in the process for like a month and a half now of planning some significant new changes to sync to make it significantly easier for us to manage.
Yeah.
And what that should mean is like our uptime is already pretty good.
Yep.
It's not like a Walmart level uptime
Sure.
kind of thing where it's like we're not a big enough company to say every second of every day that you may want this app, you will have it available to sync or else your money back. Like that's just not something we can offer at the price that we're charging for the subscription.
Right.
If the subscription were $100 a month, we could do that, but it's not, and so we don't. But we would love it so that almost every time you need sync, it's always there, right? So our plans and our changes will make it so that we have to spend less time making sure it's up, and also that it's less likely to have problems and go down. And that's largely because of tech choices. So I'll just say that, like the tech that stores it in the back end.
Which means more time for feature work.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Stuff you want to do.
Capitalizing everything. You want to expound on that a little bit?
Yeah.
Well, our roadmap, or what are you referring to?
Yeah, I mean, just like what kind of stuff would you be doing if you weren't doing server maintenance?
Well, if I wasn't doing server maintenance, then one, I'd be working on the web app that we were just barely talked about, and hopefully get that out to customers so they can use their end-to-end, like especially since we want everyone to have end-to-end encryption.
Yeah.
We know that that's important. So working on the web app, also possibly different, like, I don't know if you talked about it, but like templates or different ideas that we have for day one.
Writing prompts. Stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
There are lots of exciting ideas for the future, and like for sync uptime is good for you, and it's also great for us because we want to ship some of these things. Like I don't know how many secrets I can tell, but we actually did add video support to the server for another secret project we're working on that I'll leave that out right now. I won't say what that is.
That's a cliffhanger right there. Cliffhanger.
Yeah, but we are considering we also want to support putting videos in your journal too, so you don't have to put stuff in YouTube. And so like we did add that support, but it also needs there's just way more to do that's exciting than we have the capacity to do right now.
Right.
So we're planning to try to get sync stable and out of the way by changing some of the way it's built, and hopefully within a few months we'll get there.
Yep. And then we can be building that stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. That is awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Yes, great stuff. Thanks. Let's talk about the Facebook community.
Let's do it.
Should we?
Yeah.
It's exploded.
Oh, wait, we were going to do a tips and things. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you good.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You did.
You did.
You didn't mean
I didn't mean to.
Was it
but
accident?
I did, yeah.
So an accidental interruption.
Yeah. No, we wanted to ask Haas and Murphy here, what are some tips or tutorials you would offer the community out there? How do you use Day One? What has made it easier for you, etc.?
You go first, Haas, so I don't steal anything.
Okay, well, one thing that's made it super easy for me is connecting my Day One account to CloudKit and Google Auth.
Okay.
So I prefer using like Google. It's just easier just for me instead of having to type in my password or, because I use one password and it's quite long and tedious. But with Google, it's like, I can just click it, or iCloud, and then it connects since it's on my phone or laptop, and it's just much easier for me.
Cool. So. Thank you. Way to connect your account, right?
Oh, man. I have so many tips.
Look at the time.
Pick two.
Okay. Well, so I do scripture study a lot, and it's really convenient to use the share extension while I'm reading the scriptures in an app on my phone to highlight, make a note, share it directly into a journal.
Yeah.
I do that all the time. That's like my second highest used journal, basically. And then another tip is getting a little bit into the advanced things. You can download the Workflow app on iOS.
Yep.
Or I think that's part of the new shortcuts feature.
Yeah.
We do offer some hooks for creating entries. So there's a time where I was having to kind of archive some health facts during the day about maybe what I had eaten or if I had taken supplements or something like that. And I could add a workflow action to my notification screen where I just tapped a button and it would create an entry in Day One for me to archive that thing. So that was pretty useful too.
And that should also work with like Launch Center Pro as well. It's a very similar app as far as like using the URL scheme.
Yeah.
To
I haven't actually
automate.
done it, but yeah, I think that's...
Well, I used Launch Center Pro. If you go to the Day One app or dayoneapp.com, you can find some templates for Launch Center Pro. And I was using one for movie reviews. And it was really cool because it would put it in a table, a markdown table automatically for you, and let you choose a star rating 1 to 5, and then you could just make some notes about the movie. I thought that was kind of fun. I was doing that for a little while.
And I'll correct myself. I don't think I used Workflow. I think I used the IFTTT app directly. Okay. But I think you can. I think you can use Workflow too.
Yeah. If is nice is because it's automated, and you set it up based on a number of triggers or whatever, and then as soon as that trigger happens, bam, it goes off. So I know a lot of people, what they'll do is like Instagram, they'll connect their Instagram to Day One, and connect those accounts, and then every time you post something to Instagram, it'll automatically load into a Day One journal, which is really neat. Or you could do it based on like a hashtag, like only if I put #journal in that post, it'll go into my journal. So there's some cool parameters that you can play around with IFT.
Is that the case with IFT? I didn't remember if the Instagram hook provided that much flexibility.
Yeah, I think it does.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure it does. If I'm wrong, I owe you lunch. IFT. Just you though.
Just me.
Just Murphy.
Please be wrong so that Adam gives me lunch.
And only the value menu from McDonald's.
From McDonald's.
Right,
no, I'm pretty liberal with my lunch. We can go get some sushi.
Whoa.
Whoa. Okay, somebody call in and tell Adam he's wrong, please.
Really?
But you have to be wrong, though. You have to be wrong.
Yeah, so if you're not wrong...
If I'm not wrong...
I don't owe you lunch,
no,
right? Okay,
no,
good.
No, we'll just call it square.
That's awesome.
Anyway, thank you guys for sharing that. That's awesome. And thank you for being on the show today. I think having some insight on the web /server stuff is a great thing that people were looking forward to.
And Adam, we talked about after this first round of interviewing everybody in the company, we would do another one where visually we'll show their screen and how they use Day One.
Yep, exactly.
I think it's one thing to hear it, but I'm looking forward to seeing.
Like a screen share?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Screencast.
So get ready.
You'll have to create a separate screencast-only journal.
Yeah, like, what if you see all my thoughts?
We don't want to see all your thoughts. That's just dangerous.
Yeah.
I have pictures of me flexing.
Yeah, there you
go.
Oh,
no.
My shirt off.
The gun show.
Actually, I'm scratching the idea. It's
Yeah.
a bad idea. Never mind.
He's got regret now.
Total regret.
Anyway, sorry, back to the
regret.
community. I know I interrupted you.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, and I know we're out of time. I just want to mention, again, the Facebook community we mentioned just the last week, and it's shot up to over 400 users and still growing. It's probably 500 right now.
It could be. Totally could be.
Which is great. I want to especially call out Mike Quinn and Michelle Kensley, who's been so great to jump right in and start contributing with posts and comments. They are the two moderators that we've asked to help monitor that and vet people. We want to make sure people are using Day One or at least familiar enough with it and want to learn more to be a part of the community. We've got some people sharing some great stuff already. And most of the employees are in, but not as employees. We're there as users of Day One just to share how we're using Day One. There's certainly the support and other options, Day One on Facebook if you need more support and through the channels.
Yep.
But this is really just more about use cases. And I'm overwhelmed by the community, how much people want to share. It's not just, even though Day One is a private app, a lot of times I think of just my personal stuff, they want to share how they use it.
Yeah.
It's just been amazing.
Give other people good ideas about how they can improve and really take advantage of the features that are out there.
Even if you're not a big Facebook user, just jump into the group and contribute and participate and get out.
I'm curious about the Google Plus community.
Does that still exist?
Is there a circle for me?
Not yet. MySpace plugin.
TBD.
That's right.
Yeah.
TBD.
You have to download from Napster.
Oh man, I think the Facebook community has been amazing. I've just been glancing through and I've been liking all of your stories because I think they're fantastic, and I think it's going to give people good ways to use the app. So thanks for joining that. Again, if you need support, go to go to dayoneapp.com/contact if you need to contact support, or the help guides and tips and tutorials and troubleshooting stuff is on help.dayoneapp.com. So,
or you can find us on the street. If you come to see how you help, just look for us.
That has happened. That has happened. I did a video thing for Roots Tech this past year, and about 15 people stayed after to get some help. Yeah, to get some help. And I was like, all right. And I stayed. I thought it was great, and I got to help people, move from Classic over to 2.0, and we had a great time.
That's awesome.
I love the Day One community. I really do. I think we're a fantastic group.
If we have to say so ourselves. But
No.
we're all in it. We're
Yeah.
all a part of it. Not
Exactly.
Just, not the
No.
4 of us.
No, and I think I mentioned this to Paul some time ago, or maybe some of you, that I love working for a company that builds a product that I believe in. That does some good. There are emotional benefits, there are memory benefits, there are passing on to your posterity benefits. There's lots of benefits to journaling. I believe in all of that, and I'm glad to be a part of this. So,
Me
agreed.
too.
Anything
Yes.
else?
No, I actually like. I guess one last thing to your point is because it's an international community, and because vehicles like Facebook are such a great way of bringing people together, we're planning to do some great stuff with that. So Facebook Live and discussions, and we get tech on to help out with support, and looking forward to doing more of that. So
Stay tuned.
Tap into the community. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.